No doubt about it. So even if I'm live on here, I won't be live here. All right. Cool. So it is working, and it is live. Cool, cool. Make sure that that's the right link. And then we're going to be off building this app. Little matcha green. All right. And then, yeah. So let's rebuild this app just so we get a fresh build of it to start working with. And then, yeah. So the first thing I really need to do is to be able to display the saved data correctly. So one thing with that I'll probably need to do first is implement like the calendar picker, so that we can change the date basically and make this. So we already sort of have this main page able to be dynamic because we can pass in a date to the main page. Yeah, so then we just need to put a date picker in. Flutter has a number of date picker plugins, I think, and I think there's also a default date picker. Which is likely what we'll start using. Oh, I'm using like basically knockoff Amazon gear. Stuff's expensive, so throwing out that. All right. So where are we at? We need to add a date picker into the menu at the bottom. Ooh, here's what's going to be weird is on the new pages, we need the slider to be down there always. So actually what I think I'm going to do is pull out the sliding panel into its own widget, just so that we don't have to keep it a little bit cleaner. Menu drawer. We don't have a menu drawer widget right now, but we'll build that in a second. I guess we'll do it as a stateful widget. So menu drawer or a stateless widget extends. Sending out some text, trying to see if I can get maybe one person to view this. All right, so we'll do stateless widget. We don't really need to change the state too much. We need to override the build function. Build context, and then we can just return that. And that should work, and now we can just sort of bring that sliding panel over to every new page. And then we can have all our buttons sort of here. So on the calendar widget, we want to open up the show date picker. So you can do that with just, so we're gonna probably want to await it so that we can wait for it to come back. Plus we need to set, well, we'll be routing to the home page on the date picker. So that's okay. So we can do date time, selected date equals await, so that we can wait for the answer here. Got to make this an async function so that we can do some asynchronous programming here. So we show date picker with this build context. The initial date will be datetime now, so that it just starts on today. Yeah, the first date. So I don't really care about time. I don't really know what it'll do if we pass nulls here. I guess we can find out. And yeah, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to do a navigator material page route. Material page routes. And then you can do a navigator.push to basically add the new page onto a stack. So basically the way Flutter's traversing of pages works is so that you can go backwards to new pages. It builds a stack. So the first page you visit, the home page will be on the bottom of the stack. And then if you go to a new page, it gets added on top. And then if you pop that off, basically just get rid of it and go back to the last one, then you'll be back to one. If you're like 5 pages deep and you hit back 5 times, you'll get all the way back to the first page. That's really the gist of how it works. I think it's a pretty simple way to manage the pages. So we're going to go navigator.push. We need to pass our current build context along, and then we'll have material page route. And we're going to pass this to main page, where the date is the selected date. And then that should be able to allow us to change that main page. Let's see how this works. We're able to, we get an error there with the date picker. And it looks like we do have to set first and end dates. So if we set the first date, we'll do a date time. I mean, who knows? Maybe some of you want to go way, way back. The dates, so we'll do, I don't think many people will be going that far back, but whatever, we'll just do it. 19, we'll do Unix. So you can go all the way back to the beginning of Unix timestamps. End date available to select now as well, since we won't be having you fill in things for the future. And then try it again. So he opens up the calendar widget. Notice how everything after today is not selectable. Well, let's make sure this updates. So let's see if this drops back to the 10th if we navigate to this page. And here we are on the 10th. So it looks like we're able to select the dates correctly. Let's go back to the 15th. All right. And then let's try the 16th. All right. And then on the 15th, I think that was the day where I had some data stored. So now that we're getting this to properly run, yeah, we need to pull up the data from that SQL database that we have locally stored on here. And so that was up here. I believe we just had a print that should be printing some stuff out. So we have our main app provider, sliding panel. So we have our future builder list of trees. We also want to print the entry snap, just because it might be returning null. Tried calling query. Tried calling query. Okay. So I guess I need to start the database always. So can I start that in my init state? I don't have access to this. So I guess I just need to do a second future builder. So maybe this is a time where it's worthwhile to, rather than using future builders, use provider, because then we can do multi-provider. And then that'll allow us to sort of do both. Well, I guess I can't really do that. I have to nest them because I need to have the database started before I'm able to listen to it. So let me see where the DB. So we have this feature builder where we're getting basically all of the entries. But before that, and this is where Flutter can kind of get a little bit messy sometimes, is when you just keep nesting feature builders. We do need the main app provider, so we can't put. I know there's some people that use things. I think RxDart is one way to do it, where you can sort of combine streams and feature builders, but I haven't looked into that yet and don't have any familiarity with that or just React frameworks in general. I've never used React. So feature builder void. Future map dot start database. Builder. Next. That's basically nothing. It's an async snap shot of void. I don't know what to call it. Well, actually, we're going to set this to a bool. We'll change this function to a bool so that we can actually listen to make sure that it's true. And then I gotta go update this function to return true. So on create, run all this. So open database. db dot. Yeah, then we'll just return that. So notify listeners so that we can update everything and let them know that this db variable is no longer null, and then we'll return db.isOpen. So if that db is open, we'll return a boolean. Future bool. Yeah. And then this should be checking that this is open. We want to check. I'm a liberal user of the print statements to do almost all my debugging. Good or bad, I don't know, but it's the way I know. Need this to be a boolean so we can also access there, and then db is started. If started. So started has data and started.data. We might have to make sure started is not equal to null. And we'll check for data. Else we'll just not print anything. Or we can print. Still starting. We'll refresh that. So that seems to have busted something there. So let's see what happens. If we stop it, we can look in here a little bit. DB is started. True, true. Connection state waiting, no. The method query was called on null. No, it was not. Unless here's what we have to do. Probably is we can't even run this portion unless the DB started. So then we'll just have to do if started equals null or started.data. So it's basically what this is saying is if we haven't finished evaluating the future that's opening the database and starting it, so basically the database is still in startup phase, or if there is no database, then we want to return center. We'll just return a circular loading thing. Hopefully that takes care of the issue. Entry snap. Yeah. Waiting for that to build. I guess while that builds, we'll have entry snap.data. Hey, so here's Boolean expression must not be null. So where is that Boolean expression? On 74. Line 74 is that future builder. Line 78. I think I'll just have to do it. Started.has data. So another or. So if started.has data. So basically, if it's null, I guess we still need this has data. Doesn't have data, and if its data is false because it's a Boolean, then we're going to show that. So let's try that. So that at least doesn't give us that. But this infinite, so it's not a stream. I guess I'm a little confused why it's continuing to evaluate there. It should not be. And I should have something saved for this day. Those are futures, so I don't know why it's streaming like that. Why is it doing that? I don't know, man. I guess I need to look in a little more into SQLite on Flutter. So at least make sure this DB is open. On these gets. DB is open, true. So I guess it's just not returning anything. So maybe my database was deleted when I reinstalled the app, which is probably makes sense, I guess. So let's just try to save something. So let's go back to the 10th. We'll go to the 10th. We have the 10th up there. So let's see where this saves. Let's try and save this here. Save. And it's still not able to get anything. So something's wrong with SQL here. So if we go to the 12th and then we come back to the 10th. Yeah. So I do not know what is going on here. This is not right. Like the DB is open, with the snap get entries. Why is it always empty? If I can get some help online, it's pretty much what I have to do for everything. Ask a lot of questions. Yeah, I really hope Flutter ends up becoming like the new React, which is kind of what it's competing against. I know React has a lot larger market share because it's a little bit older. Personally, I think Flutter is a lot easier. Maybe that's just because that's what I chose to learn. But my couple attempts to get into React didn't go that well. I don't know. I think I like Dart a lot better than JavaScript. So we got to find out why we're not able to get out of the connection state of waiting here to run the query. The database is open, but we're never actually running. We're not sending that. So if we're able to display this portion, then we should be getting results. However, we're not getting any results. Maybe we need to print what we're querying between. It's just to make sure we're querying the right dates. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference because it's the connection state that we're struggling with. But this will at least make sure. Good time from milliseconds. It's epic, which is from the Unix timestamp. We want to do a start timestamp and date. Take end timestamp. Okay, so I just maybe need to check that I'm only trying to open the database if it's not open already. Wow, that even broke that. It didn't even load everything. DB is not equal to null, and db.is open, and we'll just return that it started. So we'll return true, it started, or we'll return db.is open. That seems to be working better. And then if we go back to the 10th, let's see if we can save something now. So we'll save that. And it looks like that saved properly. So now if we go to the 15th, we should return basically no results, I don't think. And then if we go back to the 10th, we should get some results. 2020 11 10 to 0 0 11 10. So that's a problem right there, I guess. If we have both of our start and end timestamps. Oh, I see what we got to do. So if we're selecting the date and not actually just dynamically getting today's date, then we just need to remember to add a day still to the end date, then that should fix that problem. So let's try it. Instance of entry, instance of entry. I do have two prompts. So the first one did save on that day from a little while back. That means the one on the 15th probably saved too. Let's check it out. The one on the 15th, yeah, I did save too. So now we just need to update what actually shows here. So from there, we're going to want to come up here. And we basically just want to seed the controller, I believe. So we don't need that. Yeah, so I guess what I was doing before that was failing is every time I was trying to call start database on the page, and then I would try to call this get entries, which was then again trying to start the database, and it was just a circular loop of starting the DB, which is now mostly fixed. So let's see if we can display what we need to display. Do I gotta see the value? If entry snap has data snap data length is greater than 0, then I guess we normally so I guess this comes down to, do we want to allow users to have more than one entry per day, or do we want them to just expand on their entries and add more text and have one maybe longer entry per day? And that'll sort of determine how we're going to choose to display it. So we can just display it as one, and if they have multiple entries, we'll have to display some sort of like list view underneath of the other. So we'll start with that, I guess. So we'll still have our prompt. But then so we have our container and our text field. Do we want to put them all together? I think I will just put them all together. Oop, let me edit my question here that I posted on Discord just so nobody wastes their time answering. Yeah. So I think we'll just do one entry per day. And the way we'll do that is when we insert an entry, the map that we're going to create is now dot month daytime dot now dot day. And then in the insert entry, we'll have to add some content. Check if the entry exists for this day and update it. So let's query the entries table. Map is string dynamic. Current results equals weight. this, we're just going to want to do where date equals entry dot date dot milliseconds. It's epic. If null or current results dot length we'll do it the opposite way. Not equal to null and current results are greater than 0. And then just so we know what's happening here, we want to remove all these print statements so it's not so bloated later. But I put in a lot of print statements, so I kind of know what's going on. Adding new entry. Now, likely some of these date times are not the best. Actually, let me see where we go. If we go to 10th, I want to see what their timestamps are, so that's why I want to do that. So we have one timestamp. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll give them that. Right now they have 2, but usually we'll only have 1. Oh, I gotta put length here. And then we'll have to run an update query. Man, I wonder if I should just write a raw execute for that. Let me look into how the update query works for selecting if you have to pass the whole row of data or what we have to do. I mean, we could pass the whole row of data, I suppose, but let me take a look. How that update function works. So the row will be the values, the where, and I'll just add a where clause there. The table, entries, values, entry dot to map, where date is equal to entry dot date dot milliseconds since epic. What this is actually going to end up doing is updating if I have two for that day with the same timestamp. It'll update them both to have the same value. I think that's all right because we'll only want them to have one value or one entry for that day in the future. So we'll see if all this works. And then we still do want to display what we have up here. Since we might have multiple, we'll just grab the first because we're seeding. So if first dot entry oops let's see if this works. And then if we change it and we want to go to the 15th, and then if we go to a day that doesn't have an entry, we should get a prompt. All right, so that seems to be working pretty well, actually. Let's see if we can update for this 10th. If we update that, we get an error with SQLite. So we can't set ID equal to null. Okay, okay. So maybe we so maybe what we actually want to do is get the ID for that entry. An entry that's empty. Current entry equals entry dot first. Now when we hit the save button, So if the current entry is not equal to null, oh, this is outside. We can't set the state in there. Interesting. So we can't, so the floating action buttons on the scaffold is outside of the future builder, which makes it a little bit tough here because we can't really store this at the main level because we would be setting our state in here. And you can't really set state in a builder. So if we So I guess we can undo some of that work we just did. We're just going to have to check and only update the field we want to update instead of the whole row, which is hopefully fine. So down here in our insert entry where we're doing our update, entry, we're going to do it with entry.entry. What else might we be updating here? Well, we have the prompt we won't be updating, the date we shouldn't be updating, the ID we will not be updating. So basically the audio and the image paths, they'll probably be null, but image path, make sure it matches what we're calling it up here, image path and audio path. Entry.image path and audio path entry. So now that we're not trying to update something to a null ID because that's the primary key, it can't be null. It's also an auto increment. Hopefully this will work to allow updating. Oops. Access to technology. And then let's try and update that. So now if we click save, updating for this entry, and then if we look down here, we can see that both of these have been updated to the new one because they both have the same date. Again, in the future, every day should only have one date. So let's go to the 15th here, and then to make sure it works, we'll just go back to the 10th. And that seems to be working. So cool. And then let me save that and update that. Make sure it's still working again. Maybe I want to change the date selector to, rather than going to today all the time, going to the chosen date. Yeah, but at least it seems like we're working well to retrieve everything. Cool. So I think next we sort of have two options. We can go and work on this affirmation page, or we can start implementing some random prompts and saving those in the DB with this. I think the way that the prompts will work, so we want to store our favorite prompts. We're going to have to mark and store somewhere, which is going to be in this SQLite database like we have, which is all fine. But the thing with that is it's a little more difficult to ship in the app. What do I like? React is difficult. There is a framework. I didn't see that one a while back. All right. Yeah. So I think what we're going to have to do is load our list of prompts in the assets folder just as maybe a JSON file. That's probably, I guess, where we'll put all of. That's where we'll put probably all the prompts, affirmation type things. And then we'll basically just also store those in the database. So we're going to have to create a new table there. So let's add that file to our assets. I think I have a prompts text file. So I'm going to have to go through and format this a little more properly. We'll just do it rough for now, and then I'll work on filling these out more. Prompts. And that's just going to be a list of prompts. Just for now. Cool. And then we'll need to save it as JSON. Well, let me select that. JavaScript JSON. Oops. Gotta get rid of that. Cool. And then I've got to look up how to loading JSON assets from Flutter. So we're going to have to define this file in our pub spec by our images. So we'll have assets slash JSON. And then, yeah. When you're calling load string, it's actually an asynchronous method. And then, so default asset bundle. So we have this, so we gotta run pub get again to load in that asset. And then we need something, and I don't know if we necessarily need it in the provider. Let's do it. So those are going to be futures to load the assets, but so I'm going to need some Flutter services here to help me out to unload this data. So we're going to need Flutter services. And for career. Back. Basically, we're looking how to, so we can load it as a string, but then we need to convert that string to JSON. And I actually probably have some of this elsewhere in a different project I've been working on. To convert it to JSON. So load from assets, you can load the string, and then you can parse it as JSON. Do I need parse JSON? So JSON decode is included? I'm not sure. But either way, let's just say Prompt JSON. Future. Load. I think the JSON decode will put it in a mat. I gotta be sure about that. Get prompts from assets. And then we'll JSON string will be innovate. See, I do not get why this will not work now. Because I didn't add anything different in here. And now, like, I can get rid of everything I did and it won't even change it. Look. Is that messed up? Just do a bunch of undoing. And the errors remain even though there were no errors before. Isn't that crazy? I wonder if it just forces us to import async. Try and tell me future's not a type, bro. Isn't that brutal? Like, I don't know when it just decides that it's going to stop even trying a little bit in Android Studio to do this, but whatever, it's free, so I can't complain too much. Let's see. Can it hot reload without breaking? All right, whatever. String. Oh, I'm gonna have to restart Android Studio, I bet, to get this to work because of these just pointless errors. Yeah. So I need a JSON decode method. Where does that come from in the pub spec? Convert. So I need to implement the convert library. Import package. Put this at the top and put all the like period art stuff at the top. Show JSON decode. Yeah, but how crazy is that, man, that it just does that? Everything is formatted properly. All these functions are fine, but apparently future isn't a type, and no consumer associated with ID 32. So I need to kill the app and kill Android Studio, and that's pretty damn annoying, I'll be honest. Like, come on. Second time in a couple days that's happened where it just decides to forget what it's doing, even though everything is formatted just fine, and I bet it loads just fine when I reopen Android Studio. Oh, all right. Well, while I open that up, let me just try and it's already open on another page, so it's just making me do this. And I should just need to open that project. Back over to here. And then let it open. See, and would you look at that? All you have to do is reopen it and it's all gone. All those errors, and it'll probably start up and work this time, hopefully. In the meantime, we need a function to get a random prompt from there. So string. I don't know what the shade error is for. What is going on with this? How is it always going right back to those errors? It's to add something new. Like, we should not have this much trouble adding new functions in Android Studio. We also shouldn't be getting some of these errors. I don't even know what that Flutter shade error means. Flutter shader compilation error. Maybe I need a new emulator. So this might just be an emulator problem. With the Android emulator, it looks like, according to Stack Overflow. So I think we should be able to fix this. So let's see. Go down to settings. Advanced. Compatibility. And then I need to restart the emulator. So let's kick that off. Android emulator Pixel 3. We'll start. Cold boot, different emulator features. That's what I wanted. And as that loads up, yeah, so I guess we can do this. So we're going to need a new prompt. And then if prompt JSON is null, then we'll wait for we don't want to bundle up those two. We want to just do the whole function. So we're storing the actual prompt string. I don't know if we want to store it on this main app provider because it's really only valuable to the main page. So it doesn't need to be on the whole app. So this main app provider sort of covers the whole app, the whole scaffold. So we should be able to have, like, everywhere inside the app access to this provider. But I don't know that we want to store page-specific data in this provider as opposed to creating a separate provider for the main page. The one thing with doing that with a separate provider for the main page is we don't want to be spinning up a ton of different providers. So every time we navigate to that page, or if we switch to a different date, Well, if we always spin you up on your main page, maybe we can move the date into being part of the main page provider. So we have our main app provider for the whole app. Then we have that main page. So maybe we put everything, including the date, on that main page provider. And then rather than see, the only problem with that is we have to set that provider if we're on a different page, which adds a little bit of a wrinkle. So where do we want to store this prompt? It is a fairly minimal app, so we can maybe get away with storing prompts and current. So your chosen affirmations will be stored in your database, but for the other randoms, we really only need to show when we're opening a dialog. So we don't need those here. Yeah, so we can keep our prompt here, I guess. It's not a big deal. On this page, on the main app provider, hopefully JSON decode returns a map. We can find out quick. If it returns a dynamic that hopefully is a map. All right. Let's just start out by printing our prompt JSON. Get new prompt. And then we want to come up here on our main page and we have that get new prompt button. We can get rid of some of these prints to clean it up a little bit. Get rid of that. And then here we want to do map dot get new prompt just to see now that we have a new emulator up, hopefully this starts. This like Yeti tumbler keeps tea hot for hours. Let's see. I made this 3.5 hours ago and it's still a little hot on the tongue. Does not seem to be loading properly. I don't know what happened. don't think that's going to help, but maybe. Called during build. But without it, it doesn't update. All right, that seems to work. So let's see if we can get prompts here. Nope, probably because it's JSON and we have it formatted incorrectly. Why is that not working? So it's failing to convert because there's a character. I guess I forgot. JSON doesn't like single quotes. So now that we have that saved, we probably have to re-pull it in to the assets here. And then we should be able to refresh. Come on. Looks like it got detached again. But so this works this time. So, I mean, we at least wanted to be able to see what prompts we're printing out. Why on this initial opening does it refuse to re-update after this? So we got to set DB, and then we're notifying the listeners. Where is it breaking here on this initial start? That's the question. db open. And then we got to kill it. Start it over and see where this thing is broken, because it's stuck somewhere here. Let me send that full screen again. Hopefully I can at least get these prompts so that we're able to read it. So db opened, listeners notified. I mean, it's not even showing the circular loading indicator, which is concerning. So this is db opened. Data. Data. Let's see what this gives us. And this is mobile app development. Write 3 lines of code, debug for 15 to 20 minutes, erase those 3 lines of code because he did it wrong, write 5 lines of code, get it to slightly work, erase 3 of them to debug. So the db opened is null. Connection state dot waiting, null, null, false, null. Why does it not reevaluate? So the future builder so that initial open, it doesn't rebuild, huh? That's really weird. I'm gonna have to ask about that. But let's see if we got the prompt thing working, and I'll work on troubleshooting that. unexpected character in the JSON file. I guess nowhere is really listening for DB up here, is it? Other than the map DB. So maybe I don't want to notify listeners. We'll try that in a second. Huh. So apparently it's going to have print prompt string. So it can't finish it. All right, I have some research to do, I think. By a lot, because I don't really know what's struggling here. It looks like it's not able to read the full JSON file. Student making a sense. Print prompt JSON. Let's see what that actually gives us. I guess we just maybe need to convert it to a map. Oh, wait. No, I'm just an idiot. So I think it's all working. We just need to be setting prompt JSON, which we're not doing. So we're returning this. We actually want to be or oh, wait. There we go. All right, now let's try it. All right, that's a little bit better. So then if we want to get new prompt, then prompt list equals JSON dot prompts. I really realize how weird of a word prompt is to spell until having to write it so many times here. Prompt JSON, and then print. See how many prompts we have, and then we're basically just going to need to get a random one from in there. We'll probably do it so once you can start favoriting, we'll store those somewhere in the database. And if you click that button maybe 20 or 15% of the time, we grab one from your favorites. And then the other time, we just give you another random one we have in there. We'll definitely be building up a bigger list. I think I've got like 29 or 30 right now, but we'll get a bigger list going and then work on it that way. Let's see how many we got. We should have like 29. Can't add the list in it. So we can, I think we can cast as a string here. So if we do cast string, no. Cast, Flutter cast. Right. I guess we can just make that dynamic. Number of prompts, 28. So now we're going to need a random. So I think we're going to need start.math. I got to make sure that's the one we need. Yeah, dark.math we're going to need for a random. Or dark math. Show random. Generate random numbers in Dart. So yeah, come on down here and we'll go. So our random number generator, with random. So that's our random number generator. And then we're going to want to pick a random one of those. So let's just do prompt list rng.nextInt, and then our max. We're going to want to go from 0 to the length minus 1 because of the 0 index. So we're going to want to do prompt list dot length minus 1, so we don't get an out of bounds error for not being within the range of what's in there. Got to go right to the edge. So tap the list in the end zone. And let's see if this generates us a random prompt. We don't need this to print the whole list. And just so we can actually see what that we're doing different numbers here. Rand index. Index. All right, let's see what that gives us. And then if this hop off for now and then pop back on, who knows when. Oops, didn't mean to do that. So now I saved an empty entry here, but that's okay. Yeah, so the random prompt thing appears to be working. Let's get it to change this help text, huh? So we need to prompt equals this boy. Then we need to notify listeners. We don't actually need to return a string. And then up here, maybe we wrap Hint max lines, null. Then they should wrap, I hope. Yeah, this looks like it was never addressed and has been a problem for about 2 years. So I'm gonna look into that, I guess. I've got some work to do looking into that and looking into the error on why it's not really starting well. Like this, where we just started up new and we're gonna end up getting that stock. We'll wait for it to load up, but it sort of gets stuck on that first page. Maybe we need to get rid of this notify listeners in the start DB. Try it. Yeah, there's a chance that that notify listeners is breaking it because it's forcing it to rebuild. And there really isn't any true state changes. Well, that doesn't look like the issue. So I need to look into that a little bit too. Something with the future builder not reevaluating. I mean, obviously all those things are closed at first, but then the future should return. Since we're not returning here. Yeah, definitely a bug in my code. Maybe likely not a bug in Flutter's future builders, and I just need to figure it out. The other thing I think might be a bug with the hint text overflow. So I need to look at that, maybe file a bug on GitHub for that. But yeah, but not as much progress as I was hoping today, but at least I know that we have everything pretty much saving correctly. We can update dates, we can select different dates and view what we wrote on that day. Yeah, we can update those values and we can change the prompts. So I still need to put it in so that there's some sort of automate. So it's not always this main prompt that today I'm grateful for each time, and we can sort of randomize that. That shouldn't be too hard because I think we can just put it in a feature builder and it'll, yeah, just evaluate it the once right away. Well, I don't know, because then every time you click on that button, yeah, because every time you would click on that button, it would give you a new prompt and then also reevaluate the future builder to give you a new prompt. But I'll play around with that and see. But yeah, that part looks somewhat working. It's just the wrapping that I'll need to ask about. Yeah, hopefully take care of these things next time. With the prompts to be working well like that and fixing these bugs, and then we'll probably work on implementing adding favorites to the prompts and storing those in the database. So we'll have to create a new table for that and come up with something so that we can check if a table exists, and if not, create it just for that first time, since we're not running the onCreate command anymore on the database. I guess we will, yeah, I mean, I can just uninstall and then reinstall and we'll redo this all. But yeah, that's where we got to today, I guess, and we'll see where we can get to probably again tomorrow, unless the waves pick up and the king tides go away. Peace. Yeet.